And we are live. It is the DIY audio guy along with over here, this guy towards DIY audio. Nick, say what's up.
What's up? Can I get one more time what your name is? Because I'm confused.
I don't know who the hell I am. I just hit the go live button and all of a sudden I
audio
realized I
go.
need to start talking. And so I just got confused. So, Rob, tell us what's up.
Yo, what's going on? Movies, music, and things like that. That's what's
That's
up.
it. We talk a little bit off camera about what we might do for our next topic, and we kind of, as we rotate around the channels, the person whose channel is on is the one who kind of gets to pick and come up with the idea. I didn't have the slightest idea what we should talk about, and I thought, you know what? When do we ever actually talk about what we listen to when we listen to speakers? It's like, well, no, we listen to music. And hey, Scott from Power Hog Audio, who's already hit us with a super chat right out of the gate. We appreciate those super chats a lot. That it's not a big amount of money. Maybe it doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to us. That little bit, goes to help buy all the stuff we need so we can do this kind of thing. So we definitely appreciate it. Don't hesitate to hit that super chat button if you want to.
I heard Hi-Fi Vega might have some Power Hog Audio stuff. Is that right?
Oh, it's over
you have
there.
Some?
Do you want to go grab it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Is that the big 4 channel?
Is it the red one?
It is a
it's
very
pretty
big
4
channel.
That is huge.
All the connectors on one side.
Yep.
You gotta be careful if you have a supercar that might not fit in the trunk.
No, this is 23 inches wide or long.
Well, is that like 6 fuses or something that I see there?
This is 630 amp fuses.
630 amp fuses. That's pretty crazy that I could count that fast, man. I must have went to kindergarten.
You're a genius.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. When will that video be up?
That
when you
one's
get it done?
That one's going to take a few weeks, I imagine. I've done some initial testing, but I want to get a few more clips and everything and get it lined out.
Nice.
All right then.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, cool. Well, let's jump into it then. We're talking about the music we listen to, the movies we watch, the test tones we play. Whenever we're setting something up, what is it we do? And so I'm not sure where to begin. One of y'all want to jump in there and go first and talk a little bit about what? Well, first of all, let me ask this question: what do you just like listening to? Like, if you were just to fire up Pandora and type in a name and stream it, what would you type in, or would you even use Pandora?
Obviously, it would be Sound Advice. So, Sound Advice would be the first one that I hit up. What about you, Rob?
Obvious, yes.
So I have such a wide, varying taste in music. Matter of fact, I built a couple of Spotify playlists that I shared on my Facebook page for people to follow if they want to. And it could be anything from, Ty Childers to Little Uzi Vert, or it could be a wide gamut between Nirvana.
I've never heard of those two. Who the hell are they?
Ty Childers is a really down-home country singer.
Okay.
And Little Uzi Vert's like a new rapper.
Gotcha.
That's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
So eclectic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm actually the same way. I listen to a lot of different things. Now, my go-to, especially if the kids are like wanting to fall asleep, like if they're in the car and I'm like, oh, yes, this is the time. I throw some Michael Bublé. So it'll be like Michael Bublé. It'll be like Nora Jones. It'll be, all those jazzy type people in there, Colby Calais, those types of things. But, obviously growing up, when I love those those 90s dance songs, those stupid ones. We listened to those, and even oldies, back in the day, 70s, 60s, country.
Right,
and my favorite, if I'm driving,
90s. Oh, go if you're driving, go ahead.
If I'm driving like by myself, I'll put some like techno style stuff on there. So like some Bass Mechanic or anything like that, I'll throw on there, and I'll just I'll just go. That's if I want to get my heartbeat, pumping.
Dude, I totally picture you not that, but have you ever heard tub thumping? That I get knocked down. That's what
But
I
Yeah,
up again.
I get knocked down and I get up again.
That's
Can
what
we
I
sing
picture
that
you.
without violating copyright? Is that okay to do that?
Well,
I don't know.
I sing pretty terribly, so if I do,
I
it,
do
you
too.
guys
They
are
probably will
A-okay.
never get close. Yeah. Yeah, but those types of things are good. And I'll tell you what, man, I had a station playing that was a base station. I can't remember which one it was right off the top of my head. And my friend looked at it and goes, I like this station. It was a girl, and she goes, bass, like mechanic. And I'm like, no, but close enough.
All right, Justin. What's your style of music? What do you listen to?
It's funny because I like to think of my taste as being eclectic. I'll listen to pretty much almost anything. There's no telling what I'm gonna listen to. I didn't realize this, but apparently I don't like new music because when new artists are mentioned, I have no idea who they are. I don't listen to the radio anymore. I stream almost exclusively. And a few years ago, my kids started telling me that I listen to old man music. And the problem is, I think they're right.
Yeah. What they say?
It used to not be old man music. It used to be just music, and now it's old man music. And it's like, what the heck happened? When did I become an old man?
They say your music taste is from age 16 to age 25. Whatever you like during that time will be the majority of what you like now.
Which is interesting because I listened to almost exclusively. Actually, I listened to a lot of Joe back then, which I guess was true. Like, back in the day, like, those types of songs. And then I used to also listen to a lot of country, and I don't really listen to either of those anymore.
The chat is just blowing up with fantastic music.
Yeah.
A Night at the Roxby. The Notorious RVH is in the house. A Night at the Roxby. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Except with
He's all like
the tub thumping song. That
yeah,
His
or
comment
I grew up in
listeners
Illinois
are-
too with the Bulls, right? So yeah, exactly what Rob was just doing.
Yeah.
When the Bulls are going out.
So Robert Van Hoy said that A Night at the Roxbury was my 90s life. And yes, I guess listen to old man music. That's my current life right now. That's that's it. I am old man music.
Pump up the jam. Right?
There you go.
Like, we remember these songs.
On.
I
The
have
Madonna Immaculate
I grew up
Collection.
two older sisters. I was born in 81, so I have an affinity for 80s pop music. Still to this day, I love it. Billy Ocean, the Bangles, all of it.
Yeah, and none of us have mentioned classical, but I really do enjoy classical music as well. My wife, on the other hand, does not. So I'm limited to the amount of time when I can hear it, but I really do enjoy classical music.
Yeah, good. I mean, classical music is good. Anything is good. I'm not picky about the music type. I listen to what I enjoy, and I enjoy what I listen to. And so that's the main thing I focus on. I turn a song on. If I like it, that's great. Let's turn it up. If I don't like it, hit skip. Let's try the next one.
I know. And that's what's crazy is I had someone like talking to me about a radio that I recently reviewed, which was an Atoto unit, which I love. I love those little units. I think they're great for what they are. They're not sound quality system units or anything of that nature. But if you just want something that does what it's supposed to do, fantastic. I stream everything to that thing. It uses Android Auto. I just says, hey, play Pandora and play this song or this artist, and it plays it, and I love it. And I can skip if I don't like it, whatever. And then like people are like, but the radio's not that good. I'm like, I don't use the radio. I haven't used the radio in like 10 years, so I don't know what to say. And they're right. It's kind of clunky to use the radio, but I don't use it.
No, me neither. Bluetooth's life.
You know what I do like, though, also, which we have not mentioned, which has nothing to do with testing speakers, but audiobooks. You guys, audiobooks?
Dude. Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, honestly, I listen to almost exclusive audiobooks and podcasts. Probably 80-20 to music, which is a little crazy, but it is what it is.
No, I think that's a great way. I mean, I don't get a lot of time to read anymore, especially with little kids. So, man, audiobooks is the way to go.
And it's something I can do while I work. So I have 8 hours a day to build, because I'll tell you right now, music gets old fast, 8 hours a day. And listening to something that can stimulate your mind a little bit does help, or it be comedy, whatever it is, learning something comedy, stories.
Which is why that's why you have to do the podcast to Sound Advice, right? You have to subscribe to that right away.
Yeah. Subscribe, comment, share, do all this stuff.
Yeah,
all the stuff all
ton of
those things.
podcasts. Yeah, a ton of podcasts. I kind of, plenty of them. I kind of wonder sometimes maybe I should listen to more music. I pop headphones in. It's usually a podcast or something, or someone on a YouTube video I want to listen to.
So
Yeah,
what's your go-to track then Justin?
As far as music goes, if you're going to catch me listening to music, more than likely it's going to be Tom Petty and Tom Petty like things. I typed in, my radio in my car has Pandora built into it, so I can stream from the phone through an app. And I got on a big Tom Petty kick a few years ago. I read a biography of Tom Petty and remember his music from when I was younger, and I've been on a big Tom Petty kick. I'd sit up in the home theater room and stream video of Tom Petty at live in concert. So I've been listening to a lot of Tom Petty over the years.
Can't be mad about that, man. Tom Petty's awesome.
And everything kind of in that general genre of that kind of music.
I'll probably get made fun of, but I love listening to movies as well, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but I actually really enjoy musicals. I really do. I mean, it depends on what the musical is. There's some musical I'm like, but I really like movies, musicals, for example, like The Producers, which is hilarious with Will Ferrell and, there's a lot of good people, Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick and Uma Thurman. I mean, that's a fantastic, hilarious musical, those types of things. I really enjoy those too, because I believe that when you use music correctly in a movie, man, it can have a dramatic impact. Obviously, a musical is a little bit different, but John Wick is a great one that comes to mind where they use music really well, and Interstellar.
Well, Hamilton, for example. I mean, it's real popular at the moment, and you can get the soundtrack on YouTube or buy it or whatever the case may be. But if you've not watched Hamilton, is it still on Netflix? Yeah, stream that. The music is fantastic. Those original songs are they stir the emotions. Anyone who's a patriot would love that show. I mean, it's a great example of a musical, and it's great on a 5.1 surround sound system.
How many times have you watched
Rocky Horror.
Pitch Perfect, Nick?
I like Pitch Perfect. And the second one with the Packers in it, right? With Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe they lost. No, I do. Actually, Pitch Perfect was on my list. I used to like where she starts singing down in the, like in the goalie, right? Where they're down doing the sing off and she starts singing like that. That's a great one to listen to.
So what are some more tunes y'all like just to enjoy?
If my Tom Petty would be Fleetwood Mac. I love Fleetwood Mac. I can pretty much just put them on shuffle and listen to everything they do and be happy with it.
Well, the Tom Petty Fleetwood Mac connection is absolutely fantastic as well, because there's what's her name? Stevie Nicks turned out to be the biggest Tom Petty groupie on the face of the earth. They did back in the late 70s or early 80s. Stop Dragging My Heart Around Together as a duet. Sarah W's got one here. I haven't seen it. Is that a musical as well?
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Great musical. And I'll tell you, if you have crappy speakers, that movie won't sound good. But if you have really good speakers, that movie will sound fantastic.
I've been wanting to catch it because I'm a huge Wolverine fan. I'll watch any movie with Wolverine in it.
Yeah, he's not a very good singer, but they did a lot of work with his voice on that movie. I'll tell you that. But it's fantastic. It's a really good movie. I really enjoy that one as well. I actually have that soundtrack on, and it's one of the test songs I actually do.
This is definitely one of those times, if you want to come watch the replay of the show, you want to watch it on YouTube, because the chat is just blowing up with fantastic music. I can't keep up with all of it and mention it all, but everyone's talking about this great stuff they listen to.
Yeah. One of the tracks I like to use, like when I first put a system in to test it, and I want to kind of see where the imaging is and tonality is, I use 99 Red Balloons, the American version, not the Luft Balloons version, but that track really, it places the music right, left and right, and it's got a nice, vocal range right at the beginning.
Yeah, You mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say, I think it's really important to also do music like when we're testing systems, since we're starting to kind of go in that way, is to test music that music that that you've listened to multiple times, music that you have in high resolution. Those types of things are really important. Now, for me, one of those is by Alison Krauss. It's "Down to the River to Pray."
Oh, Alison Krauss, yes. Chills
Yes,
down
and
your spine. That girl can sing.
amazing. And when this song starts, there's like a choir in the background that's coming out and things, and you can tell if your speaker's off balance because you actually won't hear, that choir coming in as much. You won't hear the echoes that are supposed to be going on. You'll start to notice, and if it's really like a muddy sound, then you'll know that you got your crossover wrong as well. And so that particular song, to me, "Down to the River to Pray" by Allison, is a fantastic song to just go ahead and listen to. And a lot of these songs, like we talked about, you can find on whatever streaming service you use, whether it be Pandora or whatever you use. You can typically find these. Now, if you want the high end one, then you're gonna have to go to a better service. Your high res song, I should say.
And another thing you can do is you can just buy a CD. I mean, you can still buy them. They're out there. They're rare and hard to find. The last CD I bought was Dire Straits. Someone in the chat mentioned Dire Straits. And of course, the classic demo song is Money for Nothing because it has that dynamic range. It comes in really quiet, it builds, and then just out of nowhere come the drums, and it's super loud. And it's a fantastic song to demo a system. And most people just play the intro and don't play anything else, but I like the whole song.
The intro's enough. When you've heard so many demo, that Money for Nothing, the Eagles, Hell Freezes Over, Hotel California.
Oh, yeah. Hotel California. I have that DVD in the DTS surround sound that they made. Awesome.
I mean, it is killer, but I'm so tired of it. And what's her name? Rebecca, whatever.
Rebecca Pigeon.
Spanish Harlem. Like, I don't care if I never hear that song again in my life.
It's still a great song for testing out a system. I mean, because if if the bass is off, it's going to sound boomy when it comes in with the big, what do you call the big fiddle thing that they. It's a great way for testing tweeters. There's a reason why it's one of the Iaska songs. It's a good song for trying out a system.
And it's important to note that, like, when we talk about like trying out a system, there's different things you try out, right? So it's not like you use one song to test the full range. You should be using parts of each song to test out the range. Like, for example, to test out like some of my bass features, I'll listen to the song "Glow" by Flo Rida, right? If you listen to that, there's some really good bass, and you'll know when it's right because it'll hit you. I mean, it'll like really hit you. And if your speaker's tuned too low, that's not going to hit you as well, right? Just a fantastic song, I think, to test for your bass. Well, some of your bass frequencies, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. There's other songs that I like certain parts of songs, like "In the Air Tonight." There's a part where just before he gets the drum solo, he's like, "I can feel it," when it's really loud.
Wait, can you do that again?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it loud. I thought about doing it loud, but
you should.
It should be loud that it's almost piercing your ears, but not over that edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those are the parts in songs and music and movies that you want to listen to, because that will tell you where you have a problem, if you do have a problem, right? Now, I don't know that exact frequency. You'd have to do some type of RTA to figure that out. But if you could find out that it's 1 kilohertz, for example, and that's piercing your ears, well, then maybe you have an issue in that 1 kilohertz range that you need to look into. And that's what we should be paying attention to when we're testing these things is, okay, when we hear something off, what frequency is that it's becoming problematic? And then how do we combat it? So if it was like a 1 kilohertz signal, I might cross it over a little bit more, or maybe dip down if I can, things like that.
Yeah, that's Scott got it right. It's I remember. Yeah, right there, right before the drum beat. That's the line. Yeah.
Yep. And Brian still said "Mama" from Genesis is good. Anything from that era of Genesis is fantastic. And there's Scott's comment. I remember a part. It just kind of echoes. There's an echo built into it. Yeah, and it does. Loud enough to hurt for sure.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear on how you set up a home theater, how you tune and the demo tracks or the demo scenes and stuff you use, because I'm not familiar at all with that process.
Well, a lot of it is, first of all, just setting up, most of the home theater can be done 98%. Well, I can't say 90% of it can be done just by using your microphone and your setup microphone. That sets up most of the delays, most of your, it's going to set up most of your levels. Of course, you're going to double check those afterwards. And I do like to listen to some movies to set that up to make sure that my surrounds are right or are working correctly. And also, one of the things you want to make sure is that you hooked it up properly. Did you hook up right rear correctly and left rear? Did you get them crisscrossed? Things that if you're not in there listening, which you're not supposed to, when the microphone's going off, then maybe you mixed it up. Some of those ones, there's a ton of different movies, but one of the ones I like is Now You See Me 2, which is a movie about magicians. And he goes down into, this is at the very beginning of the movie, he goes down into this like cellar down in like the sewers, and he closes the door, and it's supposed to be this like kind of spooky feeling going on, and this guy is talking to him, but he can't see anyone. And as he starts talking, the voices will start fading from back to forth and going all around the room. It's a fantastic demo. It's also a good way of knowing whether your speakers are hooked up correctly.
What's it called again? Now, what's the movie again?
Now You See 2. It's the second one. They have two different ones.
The first one is good. The second one is not so good, but apparently it's good for tuning your system.
Yeah, it's just good in general for testing your system when you're done, or showing it off. If someone's like, I don't understand what surround sound's all about, you play that for them, and they're like, I see. It makes a big difference.
As far as speaker placement goes, do you choose your speaker placement to begin with, or do you tweak them as you're setting your system up?
So this depends on your room more than anything else. There's sometimes where your room, you have to place them where you have to place them, and then you're done. Yes, I use that all the time too, Matt. Matt Stark says, I use the movie Saving Private Ryan, the scene where they stormed the beach, and that's absolutely right. The Normandy beach scene at the very beginning is amazing. It has all dynamics, especially where it goes silent for a minute. That's a great one where Tom Hanks, the explosion happens near him, and he's just watching it all go by, and it's all and then all of a sudden the guy goes, "What the heck do we do now, sir?" He breaks in, and right after that, there's a guy yelling to him. It's the other guy in charge that's yelling to him, and when he starts giving orders, like you should just barely be able to make it out, but you should be able to make it out, and that's a scene that you can tell if your center channel is hooked up right, because if you hear that way too audibly, then your center channel is up way too loud. And if it's just right, you'll know, because you can just barely make it out.
And I think that's really important. The vocals have to be right in the center, and they have to be very prominent. And I've noticed sometimes it's a bad recording. Sometimes we're watching, and I can't make out the words, and I'm going, am I getting deaf? And I listen to old man music, and now I can't hear what's going on here. My wife will be doing the exact same thing. I tell you, the world's worst. We've got Doctor Who on DVD, and we're working our way through all of Doctor Who. Haven't got anywhere near caught up yet, and the Doctor Who DVDs are terrible. I have to actually unhook the rear surrounds, or else they're just way too loud, and you can hear all the action going on and the music track, but like the audio, the vocals completely just lost in the mix. Okay. And I don't know who in the world is responsible for mixing that, but they did a terrible job of it.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of them like that. And sometimes you want to blame your system. It's not. It's the people who mix the movie or music. And I will say this though, since you asked me the question, if you're setting up your home theater, you should be doing test placements before you do your final placements. You should be moving them around, listening to them for a while before you do your final placement.
The silent part. Turn it up, boom.
I did not realize that Vin Diesel was in Saving Private Ryan. Scott from Power Hog Audio just commented that apparently he died in the movie.
Yeah, he dies
That's
saving
crazy.
that kid, right? Gets shot.
I tell you, what I was going to say about the vocal range that you're talking about, that's my bone to pick with sound bars. Most cheap sound bars, their center image is horrible. I don't know why they don't just go left, right, and try to quit trying to do the center channel and fake surround sound, because you hear all the action and none of the words.
Yeah, sound bars, they try to matrix the center in a lot of times. It's not very good. Well, sound bars in general aren't the greatest. They're usually really small speakers trying to make a big impact, and they just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's one for you: the Purple Rain soundtrack. We're mixing the music and the in the movies together. Good stuff right there. Old man music.
I can see El Fuego. He's dancing to it. He's doing the whole Prince thing right in his living room. I can imagine it right now.
That's taking all I can to hold back from busting out in song, but you don't want to hear me sing. That's for sure.
So what do you guys use to test your subwoofers?
What do I not use to test my subwoofers? I thought though everything at them that I can possibly think of.
I like to test, like, especially if I build an enclosure, I like to use like Metallica. They have a lot of heavy kick drums, especially like the Kill 'Em All album. A lot of really, really fast stuff where I can tell if it's starting to get very, very sloppy.
That's a good one.
There's issues. So like Battery's probably one of my favorite tracks.
I gotta agree with that. Metallica is the way to go for that kind of stuff. You think you might want to go with rap music or something, but if you play some metal with a good kick drum in it, it's going to be awesome. That's when you know you've really got it dialed in tight. That nice kick drum. If it's muddy and sloppy, it's got to feel like it's integrated, like you can hear the whole system. Yeah.
Rap and EDM, a lot of it can hide a lot of bad sounding subs just because they have a steady bass line. So it kind of blends anyways. But I will say some EDM really they really chop it up. There's like a Vanilla Ice Baby remix. It's they chop it up where you can tell, but most of it is it's easy on your subs.
A couple of things go ahead.
I'm going to tell you two movies to test your subs with. Two scenes, I should say, to test your movie with. One was already mentioned by someone. Unfortunately, I can't find it. Oh, Brian Steele, who says "The Edge of Tomorrow" by Tom Cruise. The very beginning of that's one that will ruin people's subwoofers. If your subwoofer is not tuned real low and you try to give it too much power, it will blow your subwoofers. And there's been many people that have blown their subwoofers with that scene. However, if you have a low tuned subwoofer tuned to like 20 hertz or so, it will shake your entire house. It's amazing. Fantastic scene right there at the very beginning in the first minute of the movie. And then the other one that I would say is the beginning of Transformers, the original Transformers movie. Now, the 2007 movie, not the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The 2007 movie. The beginning of that, a lot of people claim to be one of the best mixed sounds. And it is. It helps me voice my speakers to the way I want. But also, at the very end, right after it goes to Transformers, he explains the whole thing that's happening. There's a scene that comes with the helicopters. And they go, it will shake your windows. And if you have a problem with chuffing, especially in like the 30 hertz range or so, you're going to feel it out of that and you're going to hear it because that is a very impactful scene. It's highly dynamic.
Fun fact, I've heard that helicopter sound in person from my buddy's golf club that slipped right out of his hand and was about 3 foot above my head.
Jeez.
Ouch.
I was like, oh my, I almost died.
Some stuff I love for testing subwoofers. I like to bust out some old school stuff. Posse on Broadway by Mix-a-Lot. That is, anybody in the chat like the Posse on the Broadway by Mix-a-Lot? I love that. And one thing I find interesting about it is it's an older recording, so it's always quieter than everything else. So you can really give it some extra gravy. There's an old rapper named Ron C. who had a song called Trendsetter. Yeah. And right in the middle of the song, they just drop some bass, and it's an absolute blast. There's an old rap group named Nemesis, and they have a song "Munchies for My Bass" and dropping the bass. And that's like the very first thing I've downloaded whenever I put subwoofers in my truck a few years ago. I went right for that. I absolutely love that old stuff. That's what I used to ride around listening to in high school when I actually dreamed of having a decent subwoofer and didn't have any. Another good one that I like for testing, the Techmaster PEB. Someone over here. Oh, there's some PM Dawn too. I remember the PM Dawn. The Techmaster PEB has an album. It came from outer base, and that first track, it lasts about 10 or 15 seconds. And that thing is completely brutal on my passive radiator setup. If y'all saw my DATS video, you know that thing's tuned to 22.5 hertz exactly. And I tried that song out, put on some hearing protection, put my kids in the truck and crank it up, just watch them laugh as the whole thing just pounds away.
Yeah, Caleb Greathouse was also saying Phil Collins' "In the Air Tonight" is another good test song. Yeah. Which I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's so many, good test songs for subwoofers. It could be anything from rap to even classical. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something specific in your subwoofer, of course.
And that's a good point. Like, what bass are you looking at? Are you looking at the deep low bass, or are you looking at like mid bass? You're looking at the 100 hertz bass, 80. Where are you looking at? Because that's going to change what you're listening to. Like, if you're want deep low bass, and you might have to do some of these bass testing style tracks like Bass Mechanic and things of those natures.
In Bass Mechanic, one of their albums, I forget which one it is, actually came with test tones from like 95 hertz down to 20. And that's really handy. That's great for filming videos because you can just play the test tones. You don't have to worry about anyone recognizing what it is.
Oh, they're all copyrighted now.
I never used I never really listened to bass CDs, but I remember like the bass, was it the Miami Bass Syndicate? Okay. Where they had all the groups in there, and they had some cool tracks, but I always would listen to just regular music.
So I remember now, it was Bass Hunter, and she thought it was Bass Hunter. She's like, Bass Hunter. We're like,
well, that makes more sense.
It's about fishing.
Yeah. It's a Bass Hunter. And I was like, no, it's Bass Hunter.
Going to be like. And then
she's like, I like this Bass Hunter stuff. I'm like, well, this is Bass Hunter, but yeah, it makes all the fish come to the yard.
Yeah. Oh man, throwing a Khalees reference in there.
Oh, of course.
So
we're talking about music, right?
As far as home theater goes, what is the one like I said, I don't like hearing Spanish Harlem. What's the one that everybody shows that you might be tired of, or the demo that everyone uses?
I don't have a demo. I because I build and test speakers. I'm always testing them, so I don't really have one. My wife has quite a few that she hates me doing. The beginning of Transformers is one of them. Saving Private Ryan's another one because I can't do it when the kids are up, so they go to sleep, and then I crank it up, and they're like, "Oh, it's like this again." Yeah, the beginning of 9 as well. That's another. The beginning of 9 is a fantastic. That will get you all the details, the small little details in it. She's not as concerned with that one anymore, but since I watched like the same 5 minutes of 5 different movies, she's tired of watching those.
I didn't even think about this, but it's totally different car audio because I could just drive my truck somewhere and listen to it. Like to test your home, you got to annoy everybody in the house.
Yeah, well, they should.
It's like a situation when you're doing it. Like you have to make sure this is right and these people aren't sleeping. And
yeah. There's certain movies I can't test them if the kids are up. For like, I'm not testing John Wick when the kids are up.
It's funny because I mean every time I build a subwoofer and I'm out in the garage testing it out, my wife comes in and says, "You're scaring the dog." Every time. Yeah. The dog doesn't like it.
This is why I don't have a dog.
Well, Justin wouldn't be doing this right now if he didn't have the dog. So
yeah, the dog is an important part of the story, right? Have I told you the dog story before?
I think you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You told us the dog story. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this with us without the dogs. We still don't like the dog. No, I'm just kidding. we love your dog. He's probably great.
He's not.
Oh, well, you didn't have to tell us that. There's some. Have you guys ever heard of Sigrid?
What's that?
Sigrid, the singer Sigrid.
No.
I'm sorry.
She-
Are you saying secret or Sigrid?
Sigrid, Sigrid, Sigrid.
Okay, like Sigrid. Okay.
There's a song like "I Don't Want to Know." Fantastic song to test on. It sounds really good, especially when you nail it. You know when you've nailed the system right. When you listen to that song, you're like, oh yeah, there it is. And you also know when you didn't nail it. And then "Don't Kill My Vibe," which is a guitar acoustic, is another good one by her.
Sigrid. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, most people have probably not heard of her, but she's really not Seacrest. That's Ryan. Sigrid, Sigrid, Sigrid.
He said Seacrest.
Seacrest.
Have you guys?
Sigrid. Sigrid.
Sigrid. Yeah, that guy, DIY audio guy, got it right. That guy in the chat.
Have you guys? Have you listened to like any of the old, very old recordings, like the Robert Johnson recordings, the originals?
No, what are those?
So Robert Johnson's like a legendary blues guitarist and singer. They have them on Spotify now, and they're pretty good. But for a while, they were selling CDs that were ripped directly from records and not remastered.
Oh, wow.
That were pretty good. And I got one of those, and it broke. I did back it up though, so now I have a copy of the original. But those aren't great recordings, but they are the original recordings, and you can hear, fingers on strings. You can hear a lot of stuff that you typically wouldn't hear in a real recording.
See, that's cool. I like that. I do appreciate that.
I like the sound of the fingers on the strings. It just makes it sound better. I can't explain why.
Yeah. Well, and people love the sound of records. When honestly, if you just listen to a record, there's a lot of noise and other stuff in records to the sound that I would say technically is not a better sound quality, just like a tube amp adds a little distortion. But it's the kind of sound that is pleasing to us.
Yeah, and it is still, if you listen to like a really compressed version, it still has, it's not compressed like that, which gives you that little bit more body for sure, which I like. I like listening to records. I have a bunch of them. But you're right.
I think most people too. I think that the records, even though it's a little more noise and different things, it's just more of a pleasing sound, and it's not compressed.
So I want to talk a little bit about Atmos, because I know a lot of people here don't know a lot about Atmos. So I want to share 2 tracks with you on Atmos that I think are good test tracks for Atmos to let you know if your Atmos is set up correctly. Because Atmos in general, I think it's hard to set up correctly because you need to have your speakers placed correctly overhead. And then not only that, you need to make sure that they're not too loud. So Ford versus Ferrari.
I can't just use those. I can't just use those Sony speakers that shoot up.
You absolutely can, and you do what you want to do with that.
Please don't.
But I've never had any luck with them. Let's put it that way. Ford versus Ferrari, fantastic movie. In the very beginning, you just turn that on. I mean, it feels like you're right there in the racetrack. The announcer's coming up overhead. The cars are racing around you. Just makes you feel really like you're part of, right there inside the, I guess, the Normanberg track, which is really cool. And then the last one,
Nuremberg, you mean?
Yeah, however you say it, Nuremberg, that one.
Nuremberg.
Yes.
The legendary racetrack, Nuremberg.
Yeah, that one. And then the other one is a new movie that just came out. I'm telling you what, this movie is a B movie, and the movie itself is really good for 3/4 of it. And the last quarter, they just dropped the ball and tried to do something really cool that just failed utterly. At least I believe so. But it's called Ghosts of War. And the beginning of that it's not actually, so I should back up. It's not really Atmos. This would be an upmixed Atmos version, but the way that they upmix the Atmos and everything with this particular movie is really good. And I'm really impressed with the way that they did the sound in that movie. I was really impressed. So whoever did the sound of that movie should get an award because it's a B movie. They were on a really strict budget. So Ghost of War is another one. I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy it. Like I said, the movie itself's kind of like, eh.
So it's kind of like
especially at Le Mans. I was wrong. It wasn't even Nuremberg. It was wait. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's just talking about making a B movie with great sound so people can demo it. I think a lot of bass music's like that too. It's got a lot of good bass with very poor lyrics and musical composition.
Yes. I'll give you some examples of that. There's a song called "Pressurized" by Liquid Stranger. Have anyone in the chat ever heard of that one? No. You want to look that one up. It's a fantastic bass tracks right there, and it falls definitely in that category of it's utter garbage, but there's this
good bass.
But it's got a ton of good bass, and that's all you need. Bass Nectar is a good one. I like some Bass Nectar.
Yeah.
It's garbage, but there's tons of bass.
It's garbage, but there's tons of. Hey,
there's one. I'm not sure. It's. I'm looking it up right now. But if you'll Google or do a search for Star Wars Headspace, there's a song called "Help Me," and the band's called GTA. Garbage, and it's basically vocal tracks from Star Wars movies with this awesome bass tone over the top of it.
That reminds me of, Derek shows a demo, and this is one I used to do. It was off of called Bass Tube, and it was TV theme songs that were redone in bass, like the Pink Panther theme. They had the Star Wars, it's on. If you have Spotify, it's called Boom Tubes or Boom Tube. Check it out. It's got it's got the Brady Bunch theme rebased. It's got all of them. The Pink Panther, the one that Derek plays, is the best one. I will say that.
Oh, another good one to test your subwoofer is Double X Fantasy, which is it's literally just tones. I mean, well, I don't think there's any music to it. I have it on my test track, but that you got to be careful with it. If you turn it up too much, it's by the Double X. It's called Fantasy, and you may actually blow some subwoofers if you're not careful with that.
Did you guys ever use any of the Sheffield Labs CDs?
Mm-mm. Is that the one that has the right, left, center on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got the right, left, center. I play that all the time. Every time I tinker with anything, home or car, I play the right, left, center to make sure things are set up right.
Yeah,
if y'all don't know this one,
good ones. All right, pop it up.
What's it?
And that basically just checks the voicing of the speakers that they're set up right, left, and you're getting a center image.
Right. So if you're messing with your time alignment or something, or positioning your speakers, car or home, it's just a guy saying my voice should be coming from the far right side of the car or something like that. And it's really nice because when it works, it's like, wow, yeah, it is coming from the right side, and there's nothing coming from the center. That's exactly how it's supposed to be.
That was
when it's wrong.
Oh, good.
And when it's wrong, it's terrible. It's like, wait a second, he says it's in the center, but I only hear it in the right.
That was like those old THX ones that would come out. You guys remember those, where the mechanic would come out, the THX logo would start going, and then it'd break down, and this little guy would zoom across the screen and go behind you and start.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then there'd be some with Homer Simpson. There's 25 different THX ones that you can see, but yeah, that reminds me of those. Now that you say that.
But that immersive thing you get with the THX or the Atmos, that's what you're shooting for, right? You want to make sure that you feel like you're in the middle of the movie. And when I first got everything set up in my theater room, I was watching, of all things, The Simpsons with my wife. And, my wife was all like, what is all this about? Why are you wasting all this time and energy and money on this stuff? And then there was a scene where Marge Simpson walks off screen and you can hear the steps as she's walking. And my wife was like, oh, that's why. Okay, yeah, I see what we're doing. And now I've spoiled her. When we go to a hotel or something like that, and she turns on the TV, it's like, this sounds terrible. Why does their audio suck? I can't. It's terrible. It's like, well, because they don't know what the hell they're doing, and I just know a little bit about what I'm doing.
It's true. That's one bad thing about having good audio is you'll notice bad audio after a while. My wife will be sitting there and she'll ask after a while. She'll be like, "Was that coming from upstairs, or was that on the movie?" And she's literally has no idea anymore. Like, was that above us? Was that in the movie? Was that outside? I don't know. And that's a good
coming from inside the house. The call's coming from inside the house.
When the doorbell rings, you think someone's coming to visit. It's like, who's here?
Well, something like dropped from like it sounded like it was coming from above. Boom, and she's like, "Did that happen above?" I'm like, no, that was on the movie. Oh, okay.
This is more on the movie side, but have you guys? I don't know if you probably know this, obviously, but on a lot of Blu-rays from Disney, they would have a color calibration.
Oh yeah,
on them. Have you ever used those?
No, that's
cool. Yeah, you're talking about the calibrating your display.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. They'd also have it to do like some of them would have simple ways to calibrate your audio system as well.
Yeah. And I didn't know that until a buddy had told me that he used to install home audio. He's like, well, do you have any of these Disney Blu-rays? And I was like, yeah, they have it on there. You calibrate your it's not perfect, but it works better than not having it calibrated at all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like a lot of, like if you want to go really deep in calibrating it, they actually lock those settings. You have to have a professional unlock it to be able to get to some of those settings now, which is a little odd, but whatever.
It's probably better for me. I would have probably messed it up at that point.
Speaking,
I just need simple controls.
Speaking of Disney movies, one of my favorite subwoofer test scenes is from Finding Nemo when they encounter the whale. Have y'all, next time you're watching the movie with the kids, get to the whale part and give it a little gravy. Right, Rob? Give it a little gravy and get ready to shake the house.
Yeah.
Well, someone had mentioned earlier, and they're absolutely right. Also, U571 during the depth charge scene, that'll take the fillings out of your teeth, man. It's like they're dropping below, and each one gets a little bit closer to the sub. So the first one you hear is like boom, and you're like, okay, a little bit shakes you. And the next one is like, boom, okay, that shook me. And then the next one comes and like hits the sub, and you're like, oh crap, I feel it too. It's awesome.
We talked about a bunch of songs that we liked. Do you guys have? What are your favorite movies? Not even just for demoing, just your favorite movies to watch.
I think I could probably rewatch every Marvel movie over and over again, except for one or two that I just can't stand. I'm enjoying those a lot. As far as classic movies, The Princess Bride, I can watch that one over and over again.
And Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't watch that for audio quality, though.
No, gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of like Blazing Saddles is pretty funny and fun to watch. But I just watched again. I've watched this movie several times. Do you guys like Rounders with Matt Damon?
Yes,
and
with
Ed
Matt
Norton.
Oh, it's
I haven't
fantastic.
seen that one. What's it about?
Oh, dude, it's Matt Damon is a poker player, and Ed Norton, and it is absolutely recommend that highly for anybody to watch.
Yes, it's a really good movie. They're in Edward Norton, I think, is an underrated actor at times. He's a pretty good actor if he wants to be.
Well, apparently he's a huge jerk, so that's why people really don't like him.
Well, I can actually see that. Just I mean, I don't know. I've never met the guy, but I could see that.
What's like American History X? Have you guys seen that?
I have not. I know about it, but I've never seen it.
That movie, there is a scene on there where he has a kid's breaking into his car, catches him. He has him put his mouth on the concrete curb, and you think he's going to show a curb stomping his mouth into there, and it's like, oh my God, please don't show that. And then
JV Taste the Audio has named another one of my favorites. All of the Back to the Futures. I could watch them over and over again.
Yeah, I like the Jurassic Parks too that was mentioned. I will mention this movie that's not a good movie to watch. However, Bass Shakers, fantastic. Now, if you watch that Bass Shaker movie, the Bass Shaker video, I did one on the Bass Shaker amp, you'll see like my nieces and nephews sitting on the couch and they jump off the couch, like literally jump off the couch. It was this scene. It was the movie King Kong. Now, this is the King Kong movie with Jack Black back in 2005. And they just took, what is her name from the movie? They took the girl, whatever her name is in the movie. I can't think of her name. Anne. Yeah, they took Anne, and King Kong's just sitting there eating, and Anne's trying to escape, and she runs through the tunnel, and King Kong all of a sudden slams his fist down, comes and scares everyone. I mean, the whole couch will shake, and it'll get people jumping off the couch. And then he starts growling like a gorilla does. And yeah, man, I'll tell you what, it sounds like there's a gorilla in the room. It feels like there's a gorilla underneath you. It's awesome.
Scott's over here playing. He says Adventures of Pluto Nash. That's probably the worst Eddie Murphy movie, and it might be one of the worst movies ever. Next to maybe like Pootie Tang.
What Pootie Tang? It's one of my wife's favorites.
I hate that movie. Absolutely.
What a ta! I do like Fried Green Tomatoes, which True Voice of Reason mentioned. Voice of Reason said. I like that one. The secret's in the sauce with that one, man.
Did you guys like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yes.
Yes.
I enjoyed that immensely.
Some people, that's like on the fence. Like people either hated it or they loved it. Usually.
Well, now that we're on movies that people say, like Caleb Greathouse was saying, one of the best soundtracks was Pulp Fiction. I'm going to mention one movie that has amazing audio, and without the audio, I don't think the movie would be half as good as it is. And that's Interstellar. You guys seen Interstellar?
I like it.
I feel like there's a lot of these movies. I feel like if you don't watch it on a good sound system, it either makes or breaks the movie. I think Interstellar is one of those that absolutely makes the movie when you listen to it, especially like that scene where Matt Damon just like blew everything up and he's going to try to save it. And he's like, they're like, that's impossible or something. He goes, well, it's what needs to be done. I can't remember. That's not the exact words. And that music comes in and you're just like, oh, I mean, it just sucks you in, and I love it.
Die Hard.
Oh, yeah. Best Christmas movie of all time.
That's a Christmas time watch for me. I like Die Hard and A Christmas Story. I got to watch those two. And Elf. Elf gets an honorable mention as well.
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen, okay, this is kind of a D cup. Do you like Forrest Whitaker?
The movie? Or the guy, I mean?
The guy? Yeah, the actor.
The actor?
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No, I don't really pay much attention to actors. Who is Forrest Whitaker?
He's the guy that's got the eye thing.
Yes.
He's like a black guy, a little more heavy set. I'm trying to think what else but this is the movie. I'll look up and see what else he's in. But he was in a movie.
Yeah. Kind of has a lazy eye. Yeah. Fantastic actor.
And he was in a movie called Ghost Dog, where he was a ninja.
What?
Have you seen this?
No. No one knows what you're talking about.
If somebody knows it. The Way of the Samurai, 1999.
It's called Ghost Dog or The Way of the Samurai?
Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai.
Oh yeah, I just found it.
Dude, you guys, I don't know if it's a good movie or not, but
wait, how do you know?
I loved it.
You liked it.
I liked it in 1999. I was 18 years old. I don't know. I don't think I've watched it again.
That is one of the problems with that. There's so many movies I saw back in the day and I wanted to watch again. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Why did I like this?
As a Thomas Marshall, he said Ghost Dog sucked, which it probably does. When you're 18, you don't know. It's like I went and seen the movies. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Forrest Whitaker's a ninja.
Well, I think about all the karate movies and stuff. Who's the guy who was in the karate movies that
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah, that's one of them. But who's the big guy that was
Steven Seagal?
Steven Seagal, right?
Oh,
You go
Steven
watch the old
Seagal,
Steven Seagal movies, and that stuff just didn't age well. I remember watching it when I was a kid, thinking this is the greatest stuff ever. But now it's like, oh wow, it was kind of.
Yeah. You know who my dad
someone also
really
mentioned
liked?
Mortal Kombat, and I gotta say this. I don't know if you guys know this,
Coming out Friday.
Yeah, it comes out Friday, and it comes out on HBO Max on Friday. If you have HBO Max, you get them as soon as they go to the theater. So those of you who don't want to go to the theater right now because of COVID, HBO Max is a way to go if you have a good system.
Talking about that move from HBO Max, that makes it almost like you got to have, if you like new movies, like for me, luckily I have AT&T, so they pay for it. So
yeah, same here. Yeah, that's why I watched the Godzilla versus King Kong already. You know, It was not a great movie, but it was. I had to watch it. It was there.
Rogue One. That's
so
my
down in the
favorite
chat,
movie.
John McAllister. Yeah, Rogue One. That was a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
Out of the new ones, it was my favorite.
Yeah. I wish that we could see more of those characters. I don't want to spoil the movie too much, but everybody dies.
I totally forgot about
You're not going to. Yeah, you're not going to. You're not going to see them again.
Any of those characters ever again. Every last one of them dies.
So
Isn't it
I
what's his
love that
name in
movie
it?
until the end, but I'm a real big ending guy. I hated, man. I got attached to the characters. I didn't want to see them all die.
So you did.
Yes,
you probably
I think
like
Forrest Whitaker
WandaVision.
was in Rogue One. DP for Life.
Callback right there. He was.
Yeah. Everyone dies. Everyone.
Everyone dies.
No one
Everyone.
survived.
They had to do it for continuity, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have figured out a different way to do it.
I don't
That's
know.
my opinion.
That's like, I think like Disney really done well with Marvel. Like they've built a huge universe and they've like expanded upon it, but they kind of like, they haven't done so good with Star Wars.
No. Well, I actually enjoyed the new Star Wars movies, but
Yeah.
a lot of them, like when they first started, they were almost like remakes of the old ones. It was like, oh, it's kind of weird.
Especially the
I've
first one.
enjoyed
the first
all of
one.
them.
Yeah.
They've been good. I've liked the new generation of Star Wars movies. I've been entertained by them all.
Well,
Yeah, and to me, like that's the most important thing is being entertained and then also having good audio and video, because that will ruin a movie for you fast, especially like the dark scenes. Like if you have terrible video in the dark
Right.
scenes,
Game of
that'll
Thrones
ruin it.
got me on that horribly bad. On that last season, there was a couple episodes where I couldn't see anything.
You're just like, what is going on? Yeah.
So El Fuego, Reservoir Dogs, Quentin, pretty much anything Quentin Tarantino makes is awesome.
Oh, did you guys watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No.
I'm not certain. I may have.
That is a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I think so.
But he's known for very violent scenes, right? The movie is so chill until the very end, and I'm not even going to spoil it. There is something at the very end. It's so graphic. It just it kind of gets you like you're aghast by when it happens.
So now that we're talking about movies that are really good with audio and stuff, I want to tell you one of the worst movies for audio. It's good and bad all in one, and it was designed this way. The sound engineer designed it to have terrible audio, and I don't like it. It's Tenet. Have you guys seen Tenet yet?
No,
The new movie.
I do like what's his name? The Dark Knight. Yeah.
Christopher Nolan. I like Christopher Nolan too.
Me too, but that movie I just can't. I don't know. I can't psych myself up enough to watch it.
It's neat, but it's almost one of those movies where you have to watch multiple times because, like the way that they do the voicing, like he wants it to be hard to hear. He wants it to be. He said he wanted it to be, realistic. So if they're like in real windy conditions, it's going to be hard for the audience to hear and stuff. It's like, well, I get that, but in the same instance, I want to be able to hear the movie if I'm paying to watch the movie and stuff. There's so many people that complained about that movie, and rightfully so.
Yeah, for sure. And I hate when musicians, directors, whoever it is, when they do something so obtuse like that. And they're like, "Well, I done it, for this reason and this reason." But like, well, like nobody likes this.
Yeah, Brian said the same thing. I didn't notice anything real bad about the audio, but maybe it was because it was too freaking loud in the cinema, and that's true. When I saw it in the theater too, they played it entirely too loud, so much so that I almost left out of the theater because it was hurting my ears. I was like, no, I don't like this. And it was a state-of-the-art cinema. And so I was really disappointed.
His name's Grogu.
I tell you what, I think the best part about this show has just been keeping an eye on the chat and everyone talking in the chat about all the cool stuff that that they did. And it's just neat to me. Everyone loves music. Everyone loves movies. Well, not everyone. I guess some people hate that stuff, but it's all stuff that we all enjoy. And at the end of the day, if we don't have good things to listen to, what's the point of having all this fancy equipment?
Right. That's why you do it.
Now, and my answer to that is because I like the fancy equipment. I mean, a lot of people get into this hobby because they're really into the music or into the movies. I'm into this hobby because I'm a bit of a gearhead, and I like the technology, the thought that an AC current passing through a coil that's sitting in a magnet can reproduce a human voice.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
Well, that's, you guys know Ed from Sparked Innovation. So
yeah,
he once said, I don't know the quote directly, but he once said, voice or magnetic waves traveling through a coil, making sound pressure waves, and ripping metal structures apart. It's like amazing with the stuff you can do with like an SPL car, busting windows, shattering glass. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to. I forget who it was. One of the bigger basshead channels. I forget if it was Jonathan Price or if it was Derek from the Sundown Audio Unofficial commented that like these woofer cones are made of paper and they break glass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's kind of cool.
So you're saying that paper should always win in rock, paper, scissors? I just want to make sure I understand this.
Glass.
Unfortunately, there is no
glass.
equilibrium in rock, paper, scissors. You have to randomize to win that game. That is the.
I'm just going to pick the same one every time, and I'll never tell you that. Oh, crap. Someone said Tango and Cash. I used to love Tango and Cash, man.
Yes.
That was back in the day. Those two actors, Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell, man, they were a beast.
All right, Deviant for Life has a controversial statement. Turner and Hooch greater than Tango and Cash.
I guess that depends on how you feel about Tom Hanks.
And dogs.
And dogs. I like both the movies.
Yeah.
And of course, I also like, Kindergarten Cop back in the day. All right, I got a question for the chat because I asked you guys this. Guys, have any of you guys seen The Cube, and what are your thoughts on it? I'm curious what people think about this.
I got to Google it real quick.
The Cube. It is a cult movie. You either like it or hate it, I think, most
The
of the
Cube,
time.
1997 film.
It's a 1997. Yeah, some of these people weren't even born, maybe. We're talking about this.
Well, I'll tell you this. In 1997, I didn't go to watch movies in 1997.
Then you might not have seen it.
I would have been in the club in 1997.
It was a B movie for sure. I mean, I'm sure that it didn't make. I'm sure it didn't cost any money to make, and then it ended up making like $9 million or something like that. So
wow,
it did a really good job.
So Brian still has an interesting comment. Back in the day, the movie Midway, the opening sequence with the bomber.
It is just Cube. You're right. Regular. I'm sorry.
And then he followed up. That was right when they put the Cervin Vega strokers in the movie theaters. That's what those strokers were first made for. Were for movie theaters.
Yeah.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your story about the Cube.
No, he was right. It was just Cube. And no one seems to one guy said Cube is tense. And Brian Steele said he liked it. And Regular Guy Audio just explained it's just Cube, not The Cube, and he's right. So I don't know where he stands on that, but he at least stands that he knows it. I was just curious what people think, because I was telling people, like, if you watched it now and you didn't like it back in 97, you're probably not going to like the movie.
Yeah. Thomas Marshall says DIY club guy.
Yeah, the fun things I did when I was younger. But we've already established I'm officially an old man now, so.
That is true. Regular Guy Audio loved it. I loved it too, Regular Guy Audio, although I could completely understand why someone may not like it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is an hour into the show, so we need to wrap it up. So as our usual tradition is, before we wrap it up, guys, what have y'all got coming up in the next week or so? Or as Robert Hi-Fi Vega likes to say, what would you like to pimp? Robert Hi-Fi Vega, what would you like to pimp?
Oh, okay. So good thing we're talking about movies tonight, because if you've ever watched Reverse Polarity, which this week we're going to have Mark from Cardio Fabrication on Reverse Polarity.
Oh,
so
cool.
That'll be fun.
All right.
But we talk a lot about movies and TV on that. And turns out not all the cardio guys are down for that. And so we took that feedback and we decided to basically extend the show. So after the show, we got a new channel. It's called SideJag. We're going to go to that and we will just talk movies. We're going to do one movie. I don't know if it'll be every week, every 2 weeks or whatever, but we're going to talk about the movie. And the first movie is The Sound of Metal. That will be next Thursday, the 29th. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's on there. And it's about a guy losing his hearing that's a musician. So it's really close to us. Like
Beethoven?
If you lost his hearing.
What?
Yeah,
Beethoven?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. You can subscribe now. It's up. SideJag. I can leave a link in the chat while Toyd's telling us what he's got coming up.
So I have this coming out very shortly. This will be coming out in a day or two. You can't really see it because it's focusing on me. This is the Topping E30. This is a DAC, and it's only $150. And the question is it actually hi-fi? And I'm going to tell you, it's nice. I went ahead and left the link on my my page on my my actual community tab if you want to take a look at it. It's pretty cool. It comes with if you buy it from Atmos Audio, you get a 2-year warranty with it too, and it's 45-day return policy. But I really like it. So that's coming out very shortly. The Mookie speaker review will be coming out this week as well. And probably next week will be the builds of hopefully both the subwoofer build of the CSS and the guitar amplifier build. I'm hoping to have both of those out next week, although I might only get one out.
Yes, Kicker Unmasked tomorrow. Me, Willie Williston, and Dean will all be on the Kicker Part 2 tour tomorrow.
Fantastic. Nice. Well, if you're following my channel, I did a DATS video over the weekend, dropped the DATS video. And as always, my patrons have early access, so they've had access to it all week. And I've got a couple of projects I've been working on that I don't have all the parts that I need in order to finish, that I hope I'm able to finish sometime this week. We'll just have to see how it goes. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be dropping in the next week. You'll be as surprised just as surprised as I am whenever you see the video up. So that is it for the show, guys.
Sweet.
All right. I will see y'all on the next adventure.
You.